For the first time, we're no longer studying Rob Lowe inside someone else's creation. We're studying Rob Lowe in a world Rob Lowe built himself. This is 2018's The Bad Seed, directed by Rob Lowe. On the surface, it's about a single father raising a young daughter who appears to have an evil inside of her, causing her to lash out in disturbing ways while her father slowly destroys himself trying to understand her. So as I understand it, parenting. Rob Lowe opens this Rob Lowe film by immediately showing us everything. Fire, guns, children in distress. Enough pivotal moments to spoil an ordinary thriller right there during the opening credits. Most directors spend 90 minutes carefully protecting those reveals. Rob Lowe gives them away immediately, almost as though he's looking directly at us and saying, "You think dead children and people and fire would make a thriller interesting? Wait till you've seen a Rob Lowe thriller." The tension settles over everything. It hangs in the music, the pacing, even the silence. Rob Lowe has found a way to give the camera Rob Lowe instincts. It simply doesn't observe anymore. Sometimes it quietly turns away, forcing us to follow it. It knows when to lean in. It behaves with the same quiet conviction we've seen Rob Lowe use in front of the camera. Sometimes we're looking through Rob Lowe's eyes, and sometimes he's looking back. Suddenly, Rob Lowe is watching us watch Rob Lowe through his own eyes. The directing is confident. Rob Lowe has created a world where we're so hooked on the quiet dread that we can happily watch this man repeatedly brush his teeth, sleep, or just keep looking in his fridge, and still we beg for more. This isn't simply Rob Lowe acting anymore. This is Rob Lowe by Rob Lowe. Welcome to the House of Lowe. The trouble begins in a world that Rob Lowe understands perhaps better than anyone else. Losing an award you deserved. Emma is devastated that the school's citizenship award has gone to Milo, the kind of cheerful little boy who watches Emma trap a wasp in a jar before asking, "How did you do that?" Like you literally just watched her do it. I'm beginning to think Milo may have deserved to be pushed off that cliff. Not because I'm condoning the murder of children, but because if that's the level of observational ability we're rewarding with a citizenship award, maybe Emma has a point. As Rob Lowe retreats briefly to his safe space in the company of fellow handsome dads, his daughter quietly disappears. Moments later, Milo is found dead at the bottom of a cliff, his mother desperately trying to revive him while the handsome dads stand around momentarily paralyzed by the House of Lowe, where handsome middle-aged men know the most powerful thing you can do is wait. But something doesn't seem quite right about the death. The timeline of events seems suspicious to Rob Lowe during a meditative shower at the 29-minute mark. The next adult to become suspicious is Mrs. Ellis, who arrives to tell Rob Lowe that his daughter may have been the last person to see Milo alive. Unfortunately, because Emma is still a child, Mrs. Ellis is forced to have that conversation with her father instead. The problem is that communication is one of the House of Lowe's greatest strengths. Taking from Rob Lowe himself, nobody shouts. Nobody panics. People simply lock eyes and listen very carefully, working out what the other person wants and quietly uses that to their own advantage. Emma, unable to participate directly in this conversation, is forced to resort to the next most reasonable course of action. She fills Mrs. Ellis's car with wasps and kills her. Concerned that his daughter almost certainly had something to do with Milo and Mrs. Ellis's deaths, he takes Emma to a psychiatrist. The trouble is that the psychiatrist arrives with exactly the level of Rob Lowe gravitas required to believe she can uncover the truth simply by asking a few thoughtful questions. Unfortunately, Emma possesses the Rob Lowe gravitas required to charm the psychiatrist into ending the appointment after about 5 minutes. Like, didn't he pay for the full hour? Where's everybody going? Another familiar figure in the House of Lowe is their nanny Chloe. You recognize her immediately, not because you've met Chloe before, because you've met Rob Lowe. She arrives with exactly the kind of effortless confidence and low-level mischief we've spent this entire investigation documenting. She lies easily. She flirts easily. She assumes she's the cleverest person in every room she walks into. In other words, she's doing Rob Lowe, which is a problem, because Chloe becomes 100% convinced that Emma is capable of murder and decides with a Rob Lowe level of confidence that not only should she threaten Emma, she should also leave incriminating evidence around the house while repeatedly reminding Emma that she's planning to hook up with her dad and have the girl sent to prison for children where she's going to face the electric chair. So, naturally, Emma sets her on fire. Like, yeah, Obviously, I'm not really sure how else Chloe thought this would go. Rob Lowe eventually decides that this is simply 3 murders too many. He bundles Emma into the car and heads for the family lake house, hoping that one last quiet conversation might somehow solve the problem. And sure, if that doesn't work, he'll drug her and shoot her. Research finding. Rob Lowe spends very little time trying to dominate his own film. Having built the House of Lowe, he invites everybody inside and somehow manages to become a guest in his own house. His presence is in every scene, not because he's standing in the middle. It's there in the performances. It's there in the atmosphere. By this point, Rob Lowe isn't simply directing the film anymore. The film appears to have learned how to Rob Lowe. We're no longer watching Rob Lowe's point of view. We're watching the film's point of view, and the film thinks like Rob Lowe. Every shot seems quietly convinced that if it just waits a little longer, someone will eventually admit to murder. He's not the star. Emma dominates scenes. Chloe gets her moments. Mrs. Ellis gets her moments. The psychiatrist gets her moments. Even the handsome dads get a moment. Most actor-directors quietly arrange for themselves to win every scene. Rob Lowe seems almost determined to lose them. He loses to Emma. He loses to his sister. He somehow stands patiently through Mrs. Ellis explaining why someone who deserved an award didn't receive one. We're not buying it. He's only the star of the scene when he's completely on his own, Googling stuff. The lake house highlights something we've seen the entire film. It gives us the chance to watch Rob Lowe directing from within the scene. Rob Lowe still believes the Rob Lowe method will work. Stay calm, build the connection. People will reveal themselves. He will get what he wants by giving the other person exactly what they think they want. Unfortunately, Emma is in this Rob Lowe joint as well, and she knows this method too. She has her own objectives now and has reached the unfortunate conclusion that smoldering manipulation tactics doesn't work on the OG Rob Lowe. She'll have to try what has already worked 3 times. Sadly, Rob Lowe does something 80s Rob Lowe would never do and leaves his drink unattended, giving Emma the chance to swap the drugged beverage and get the gun. Research finding. As a director, Rob Lowe's greatest challenge turns out to be directing the most Rob Lowe character Rob Lowe has ever created. And in true Rob Lowe fashion, she wins her scene. The House of Lowe finally turns on its creator. By which I mean, the groundskeeper happens to be skulking around the property with a gun and busts a cap in Rob Lowe. Emma survives. The House of Lowe survives. And somewhere, just out of frame, I suspect Rob Lowe quietly nods in approval and calls cut. He didn't build this world so that Rob Lowe could win. He built it so that everyone else could learn how to Rob Lowe. There are still many more Rob Lowe films. The investigation continues.